Operation Dread Factor is the new season of Rainbow Six Siege that is coming very soon. I'm going to be going over all of the competitive changes and everything that we should be expecting. First off, it's the new operator, glaringly big thing, Fenrir, or Fenrir. I don't expect him to be an extremely meta-shifting operator. All he is simply is a trap or slash intel operator, and he's also good at denying executes. He comes with an MP7 and a bailiff, which makes him very good for roaming or setting up site, and he's a very good flexible operator because of that. His gadgets are nothing special, barbed wire and bulletproof camera. Barbed wire helps, in addition to his traps, to basically make it really difficult for the enemies to find footholds on the map, because you can scatter the traps and barbed wire everywhere, similar to how you would with an Ella or a Thorn with the barbed wire, which makes it very difficult to obviously lurk around the map. So he's a good counter to Nook or teams that like to try and find solo entry picks. But in contrast to the Ella or the Thorn, his traps can be deactivated and made bulletproof, so it could be harder to clear or deal with him. So if you know that the lurker's specifically going to come from one side, you can deactivate the traps on the other side once you know where the lurker is. So it can become stronger than the Ella or Thorn in that sense, because you can have more traps and the bulletproof whilst having a similar effect. And the fact that they're continuous, like you can't just go in, bait the trap out, and then leave. It's pretty strong. Other than that, don't see that much of a use. Maybe on some long lines of sight in some maps like Cafe Top Floor, having him place his gadgets around bar. When they enter in, the line of sight gets cut off for them. Could be pretty strong because you have a huge line of sight. Same with Bank Door, any sort of open site with a lot of long lines of sight, meaning that his gadget's going to get a use of more than just the alert of where they are. It looks like all of the issues have been dealt with. The only problem I see with it at the moment is the rooms are very small, which leads to a lot of claustrophobic gunfights and claustrophobic areas, meaning operators that deal really well in the close quarters are going to be a little bit too strong, and also it might lead to a very like explosive heavy map like C4s and nades can be really annoying to deal with in claustrophobic rooms because there's not a lot of room for you to move around and dodge the things. So that can be annoying, but other than that, it seems like a decent map. Observation blocker. From what I can see, it's pretty useless. So it's not got a huge range, and it's shootable, meaning you have to place it in the middle of a double door if you want it to pick off a double door. And if you want it to block off a double door, they can just shoot it, so it doesn't do its job. On a single door, you can hide it around side of sort of like a mute gemmer, but it also blocks off into the site or into the next room, which can be sort of helpful in terms of if you want to limit the amount of intel a single drone can get from without going into the room. It could be kind of helpful, but it's very limited amount of uses. And the fact you get 3 of them, it doesn't make it up for them because the problem isn't with the quantity of them. The problem is with how good they actually are, how many use cases they have. It's a very niche use. So my idea would be maybe reduce the amount you have maybe to 1 and then buff it to make it like bulletproof or something similar like that. Grim buff, I don't think will have a big enough change to make him viable in comp. They tackled some of his issues, like the speed, but it doesn't make up for the fact that he doesn't add very much. All he does is tell you where someone is. If they gave him nades or something like that, could be good, because then obviously the gadget works in combination with his secondary util, throws a bees in, sees there's a guy in there, has got an active ping, is able to nade them. It's a very solid idea of a ability usage for Grim, but they don't want to give him nades. Fair enough. Nades are very strong. But yeah, other than that, not a very good operator. Still not a very good operator. Yeah, went over the Grim ones. Not going to change it very much. Thunderbird, I thought this was an unnecessary change. Removing impacts and nitrocell makes her not a very good frag operator anymore because she doesn't have any utility to go around the map. She's now just a set and forget operator, barbed and bulletproof. It's more akin to Jaeger. So could still be a frag operator, just doesn't have as much flexibility for the impacts for like the runouts or the Oath Shields or the Nitro Cells for like the vertical play and being able to kill people off the intel. Conversation, healing per shot reduced. Oftentimes you don't need that much health, so healing reduced is like okay, it doesn't really change very much. And the cooldown reduced, again, it's like it's not, you don't really get multiple uses in the round, so it doesn't really change very much. The only thing they are doing is like removing the impacts in nitro cells. Maybe the HP is a big issue if you're running it for like an anti-nade take with like a rook combination. It's like a very, very rare thing. You don't see it very often because nades aren't very good anymore. Like from Vert, like they can get good use, but generally you don't see people going for these specific nade takes where you bring a lot of nades because people don't have very many nades anymore. You only have 4 operators that can take them. Oftentimes you might have a Nook ban or sometimes even a Yana ban. And in that case, you have three operator choices with nades, and you don't really want to be bringing the Glaz. So yeah, you don't really see the nade takes anymore. Thunderbird isn't a very picked operator in comp. It won't change anything. It's a nerf, if anything. Goyo, I like the impact grenades. I think it makes him a very good roamer now. It also combos well with his gadget, allows you to place them in like more hidden spots and then throw an impact at it. Before you would sort of wasting your nitro if you were doing that, but with impact grenades, they're less useful. So could be cooler. You can use it twice, along as well as like on the roam, which yeah makes him a very good operator on the roam. Might be replacing Alibi in a lot of people's setups because of the nerf to Alibi that is coming up. Pulse. Like the deployable shield is good, but typically you bring Pulse with the Nitro Cell because he has good use of it, right? Like his gadget is made for the Nitro Cell almost. So having a deployable shield, it's very, very situational. There will be like very niche cases where the deployable shield will be better than the Nitro Cell, or like you'll pick Pulse over another operator with a deployable shield rather. Obviously, the deployable shield's very good, but like Bank Basement, if you need multiple shields, like maybe you want one garage, you want one top blue, and you want one like site or server, then maybe the deployable shield is good because also you can have the operators with the nitro cells as well. Like if you were to bring a Valkyrie already and you already have a Valkyrie, you don't really need a third C4 because you have a smoke. You don't need 3 C4s and a smoke for the plant denial on the basement. So you could bring Pulse Shield in those scenarios where you already have the utility. But mainly I don't see a use. There's better operators with a shield. Like you could bring, I guess maybe the Chunker, now that Smoke and Alibi are removing the shields. You could bring an Echo, obviously a better shield operator in this intel because it provides better intel than the Pulse, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't see a big change here, but it's nice to have an option as Pulse because before it was only the C4 that really you do anything. Observation blocker, useless. Alibi, removing the deployable shields and impact grenades removes her sight sort of setup ability because you bring like Alibi as sort of a smoke-esque operator, right? Shotgun, shield, right? Those are the two things that Alibi brings. It's really good, and also like a really good gun for fragging. So that's like the primary use for Alibi. The secondary use would be shotgun and impacts because you want to run around and make a shit ton of holes, like be able to make a ton of flexible plays, open shit up. And still set up site. It's very nice. Now you can't do either. Observation block is useless. Proximity alarm isn't great, and her gadget's not very good. So I think we might not see very much of Alibi at all, especially with Veneer, who does a similar job now with the Bailiff. Very good gun and a better gadget. Because barbed wire plus 5 traps is better than proximity alarms and 3 kind of traps that don't even work half the time because you can get around them. You can have Nook walk through them. It's not a great gadget. Jaeger barbed wire, it means that you have to bring like more like operator like Veneer or Melusi or something because you don't have the barbed wire that does that job. You have to bring proxies. Observation blockers used as, so we're just going to see bulletproof on Jaeger now. Maybe not even that many more picks of Jaeger because Whamai is an option and Whamai has proximity alarms, so it's just better. Chunk of proximity alarms not going to be used. Clash deployable shield is very interesting. It allows Clash to be that setup operator more than the alibi because she has the shotgun and she has the shield. But that does mean you're like playing the 4v5 almost because your Clash is like an active operator. Like she cannot shoot, so she's more just intel, and they can work on sites where you don't need a lot of manpower, like Oregon Basement or Clubhouse CCTV. Clash can be used because there aren't that many angles to hold. You can afford to bring a Clash, but then you're debating like, why would we bring Clash here? Because on the CCTV, you don't really need a shield, and the Clash is okay for holding rafters, which is not ideal. There's better operators. If you really need a shield top red, you bring the Frost, you bring like something like that, because Frost has a lot of use, like the CC window jump in or the rafter stairs. Very good. Doesn't really do very much, the Clash, and the Oregon Basement could be good, especially now Smoke is losing the shield, but like you kind of want the 5 guns. I don't see Clash being used very much in Pro League because you lose a gun, and that can be very impactful because typically like if you die, it's 4v5, definitely playable. But if you die with your Clash up, like you lose that gunfight, now you're in like a 3v5 almost because the Clash can't really do very much, especially with a shotgun secondary. Um, so yeah, you trade off. It can be a very big problem if you're not confident in winning that early gunfight. Ella observation blocker useless. Rook observation blocker useless. Like maybe in casual or ranked, like you can be able to put them down and hide somewhere. It's not it's useless. Here we go. Smoke loadout, remove deployable shield, added proximity alarm. So yeah, um, just didn't quite say it there, but yeah, Smoke's losing his shield. Okay, that is everything. Thanks for watching. It's my first patch rundown. I'll probably be doing these every time there's patch notes, balance changes, etc. Because yeah, at the moment there isn't sort of a competitive side of patch notes, so I thought I would fill the gap.